In the drawing process, we first thinking about the composition, then the proportion, followed by the contour drawing. After that, we will apply different values for different areas. Let's look at the process, how we're going to draw this simple object. We just roughly draw the composition. Let's say we're going to put this right here, roughly. Maybe move it a little bit higher. So at this point, you don't really draw something with details. To find out where you're going to draw it, how big you want to draw it, and that's it. Now, if you decide on, oh, I like this, but I want you to change it 3 times. So make sure that you explore the different possibilities. Okay, if you decide on this the top, this the bottom, what's the next step we do? We need to measure the proportion. We already know the height because you just decided. And what's the width? You cannot just also design on the width without comparing to the height. Now take a look. If you make it 2.5 on the height, the width is 1. Now we're gonna decide on about like this. Now you can see 1, 2.5. And the width is become only 1 of 2.5. Now we're gonna take this, rotate it. Now if the width over here and the right is here. Now roughly we just draw this, come up like this. Very much the bottom part is like a cylinder, right? Good. Now we're gonna take a look at, and the curve over here is a little bit lower than the middle point. I think the middle point is right here, and just at the bottom of that a little shape. I will squint your eye, you can see a little bit better. This is about that. And then the curve is a little bit lower than the bottom of this. Now we can draw the angle of this. Look at the angle of the line. That's an angular measurement. The center of the reflected, this is right here because the object is reflected objects. So now I'm going to see that the left side and the right side of the object like this has a little bit on the top over here. You can see on the other side like this. And look at the bottom over here, and is the line over here is about this height. So make the mark over here first, and then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to like what we learned the first class. Look and draw, look and draw. We already know where the things are. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start over here, okay, and look a little bit and draw, and the curve a little bit coming down, and straight coming down. Look before you draw, and then make a curve, and then keep moving. And a little curve over here, and then coming down. Look before you draw. And now coming over here, now a little curve coming out like this. Like that. Now I come to the right side. Here we go. Now coming down over here, a little curve in, and look before you draw, slowly, and then curve, and then look, and then curve coming down over here, and then straight coming down. Oh, come in a little bit. Okay, keep going. And then a little curve out. Here you go. Now we get to the bottom. Take a look at how curved the bottom is. Okay. And then I think this line can be a little bit lower. Here you go. A little bit here, lower. Now we finished draw the contour of this object with the outline of the objects. Now what we're going to do next, I also want to indicate the background. The background, the bottom of the panel is out here. So I'm going to draw it from here from the left to the right. So make it look like sitting on this something. It has a backdrop. And also I can draw the shape of the catch the shadow. What catch the shadow is, it is the object, the space, the object that block the light. So it is absent, the space, the absence of light, like that. You see that space over there? Okay, now what we're gonna do next? How we can make the object look three-dimensional? That is the key. We have to divide it into step by step. We don't want to start from the top to the bottom. We're gonna divide this process into layers. The first layer is the biggest contrast. Make it in the biggest shape. Make it into two different families. Like one is the light side, one is the shadow side. Can we see the object? Where is the light, where's the shadow? Of course, there's some between the light and the shadow. There's also transition. But we don't want to see the transition yet. We make it black and white. Okay, how are we going to do that? We're going to see if you force it. Let me see. It's not in the middle. A little bit off the center. And coming down like this. I think a little bit more on the left side. Okay, and then over here like this. Can you see this side is similar value, and the left side is a similar value, right? Now on the top over here also, and this side is darker, that side is lighter. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make the shadow side a little bit darker, like over here, coming down from here too. Now I'm gonna make this shadow side, just like this. How do you feel? It instantly looking like a three-dimensional. It's a rough division. It's very rough divided into light or shadow. So every time when you draw, it's still going, doesn't matter how complicated the object would be. Still, make it into light side and the shadow side. But you need to pay attention to, okay, and how compared to the width of the light side and the shadow side, what are the ratio? If this is the whole thing is 5, I think there's 2 and there's 3. Now after you do this, I also want you to pay attention to the outside, the background. Now we're gonna make the background also to be darker. Why? Because without the darker background, the light side won't show, because it looks just like the rest of the paper, right? So okay, now I'm going to extend it to the shadow side. Now, also looking into catch the shadow area, actually this is darker. Now I'm going to make this darker too. Now this is the first layer when we draw, like this, and the rough dividing the light side and the shadow side. Light side, shadow side. Okay, if you want, you can also make the background actually coming here and just connect the outline. Make the outline now become part of the background. Right? If you have it extended all the way to the outline. Now the outline become part of the background. Like gradually, as you render your drawings, all the lines disappear because the line belong to a shapes. Right? Like this line belong to inside the shadow side. Part of it. Okay, great. How we can finish this? Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna look into inside the shadow side. Inside the shadow side, where is darker, where's lighter? Just think about light side, shadow side. Make each side to be flat colors. And now, when you go to the next step, now you're thinking about, oh, I can see now, up here actually a little bit darker. Do you see that? Up here actually darker. And looking over here on the side over here also look a little bit darker. And you might be wondering why this is darker. Down here get a little bit more reflected light on, and up here after the tone it get a little bit smaller. Okay, now what we're gonna look at in between over here, and has actually a little bit graduate. Now we can see from dark gradually turn to a little bit lighter. Like this, have a little transition in between. With the charcoal, it's just so easy just to blend it over. Now gradually you can see the object look like three-dimensional, look real more and more. Now look at the top over here. What I'm gonna do over here, I'm gonna make the whole thing over here a little bit darker. Tone it down a little bit, also on the light side over here too. And make it a little bit like that. But you can think about, oh, where's the highlight? Don't worry, we're gonna have a way to taking care of the highlight. And the bottom over here, we can blend it. You can use a blender or paper, but I also use my finger. It's a good thing easy to blend it over. Now, look at the bottom of the objects. It's much darker because there is no light get into that little gap. Because usually the darkest is right at the bottom over here. Double check on that. I think here it needs to be darker. You can make it darker over here, a little bit darker than that. Now I'm going to have a little transition. It's called blending the color over. Use this nitty eraser. And the nitty eraser, you know, you have to keep constantly stretching it to make it activate, right? So, okay, let's see. How we're gonna do the nitty eraser. Take a look. On the bottom over here, it looks like that's a little bit lighter. So, because that is facing the top, if you are standing in my position, you can see that is a lighter spot. And now I'm gonna take a look over here, and also have the very light spot right here. And now coming up over here, oh, this looks like a little bit more persistent light coming down. It's the highlight coming down like this. And over here, actually even lighter. And I'm gonna make this even a little bit bigger. Okay, now the top over here on the other side, it's actually facing to the light side. So I'm gonna make this look a little bit lighter. Like that. Now, I also going to even do the details. I can just use the nitty eraser to make the detail over here. Now I'm gonna inside over here, just make a little bit darker over here. You see that? Pay attention to the light and shadow. And the bottom over here like this. And the rest, you don't have to do much. Take a look at the catch the shadow. The edge over here should be a little bit softer and going outside. And we can actually take care of the table too. And make the table over here even a little bit darker. And what I'm gonna do, there's some reflected on the table. You see that? There's the light side of the bottle, and actually have some reflected. With the eraser as a drawing tool, you can actually make this look like shiny tabletop. We're making the dark and light into the objects. The process is easy. If you enjoyed this lesson, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If this is your first time here, please subscribe and turn on notification. I will see you in my next lesson.